Hi, this is an interview between two dyslexic teachers, so it should be hilarious. Hello, I'm Dawn Matthews, and this is Salin. Salin is from Kuala Lumpur. She's been over here for the last week and a half, learning from me, Dyslexic Centre of Australia. And she's hoping to go and use our methods to set up a centre in Kuala Lumpur, in Malaysia, which will be fantastic if you can help lots of Malaysian kids. And she's going to ask me some questions.
Hi, I'm here this week with Dawn, and I'm really pleased to be here today. And feel really privileged as well to be with the Dyslexic Centre Australia for giving me an opportunity to learn about dyslexia. If we could basically start off, I would like to ask Dawn about her background work in dyslexia, and if she could basically just tell us how it all started off for her.
Well, I didn't know that I was dyslexic when I went through school. I wasn't diagnosed until I was at art college. I got my teaching qualification by doing a degree in art and then a latch-on teaching qualification, and I did that specifically to work with dyslexics. Having found I was dyslexic, it seemed to me I was in a unique position to help other dyslexics. So I've always combined my dyslexic career with my art career. And I started off in the UK. I was in the UK. I worked initially, helped set up a centre, North East Dyslexia Association in Newcastle, and then I moved to Dumfries, set up a centre there, helped set up a school, and I've always worked, and gradually I started writing my materials, the things I used, because I was poor and I lived in the middle of nowhere. I used to develop my own materials, and gradually I've now written those up, formalised them and published them so that people can now buy the materials that I'm used to. And gradually it's just expanded to what it is.
Right, okay. Being a dyslexic yourself, what were your difficulties when growing up, Dawn? And also, what was your experience like being in school when you were young?
Yeah, I went to a lot of different schools. My mother moved around all the time. When I was at school, we did do multi-sensory phonics, which is what I've just published a course doing the same thing on using technology. So I did learn to read and write. I didn't hit a brick wall that kids nowadays do, because they don't teach them remotely the right way in Australia now. But being bottom of the class all the time it pissed me off a lot. I thought I was pretty dumb. It takes away your self-esteem. I don't think even when I went to college, it took me a year and a half before I dared join in discussions, because I thought I was too stupid for anyone to want to hear what I said. But eventually you pick up your self-confidence eventually. Probably only a few years ago, really, I've become very confident. In my day, of course, in the UK, you had the 11 plus.
Yeah.
And if you're dyslexic and you can't read the paper properly, you fail it. And every day you go to dumb people's school with the dumb kids' uniform on, which is an experience. But it's all behind me, thank God.
Sounds like you've been through quite a lot, Dawn. And and also what I've noticed is that there's so many different theories and experiments being carried out on dyslexia right now.
Yeah.
And the amount of information out there is quite overwhelming. And what are your views on it, Dawn? How do you feel about it?
You see, it's all about credibility. This is what I find the hardest, getting credibility, because I'm passionate about what I do and I only do things if they're necessary. But because in Australia particularly, dyslexia's kind of gone underground, the education system doesn't recognise it. So consequently, it's an underground thing, and there's all these parents out there looking for a solution to their child's failing in education. And so consequently, it's $1 billion industry, selling parents stuff for any amount they can get to promise to turn their kid around. And unfortunately, most of them try and change the kid to fit the system. And there's nothing wrong with dyslexics. We're the smartest set of people. Why change a dyslexic? Most millionaires are dyslexic, you know. It's just stupid. You just change the system to teach the child. And that's a very simple thing to do when you know how to.
Mm-hmm. Right, okay. There are lots of myths about dyslexia as well. And from your personal experience, what have you learned about the dyslexic kids? And also, when assessing and tutoring them, what are the unique abilities that you have found in them?
Yeah, well, the first thing I have to say about dyslexics is that all the kids are such nice. They're beautiful, lovely kids with fantastic personalities. I've never assessed a nasty dyslexic. And when I did the adult course in TAFE and I had to pilot it, lecturers were coming in thinking, oh my God, I've got to teach these dyslexics, what am I going to do? And they went away always saying, this is the nicest class I've ever taught.
Okay.
They're the nicest kids, they're the smart kids, the kids I learned from. Every kid I've taught, I've learned from. You know, you never stop learning from dyslexics. They're all different, and they're all, they all have a specialness about them, I think, in the way they think, in the way they can analyse stuff, in the way they can read people, and their creativity. I mean, they make excellent sports people, excellent entrepreneurs. You've just got to unlock it.
Yeah, right, okay. I personally as well have been carrying out my own research on dyslexia, and being mildly dyslexic myself, can we talk and discuss more about dyslexia and the definitions behind it, and maybe go on a bit more about the different types of dyslexia like dysgraphia, dyscalculia, and ADHD?
Yeah, well, dyslexia is described frequently as a learning disability. Now, no one has ever managed to identify brain damage in a dyslexic. We have a different brain, but it's not damaged. It functions differently to other people.
Okay.
But dyslexics is not a disability. We learn differently. The reason we are not disabled ourselves, but what happens with dyslexics in most countries in the world still, it would appear, is that we are disabled by the education system, i.e. we're a minority set of people, and the education system caters for the majority. So it doesn't cater for us. Because we're a minority, it's not right for us. Nothing, in Australia, for example, practically nothing that we're given in the school system is aimed at how a dyslexic thinks. So we become disabled, we become incapable of coping, incapable of learning to read and write, incapable often of learning very much at all, because the system is wrong for the child. And unfortunately, they're now, in Australia, they're labelling most dyslexics as ADHD and attentive. I've come across loads of them. The tick box for that, and I've copied it down from the psychological manual, any dyslexic could be labelled as that. So what they're trying to do is they're labelling us as ADHD, giving us drugs to try and make us fit the system. So drug the child to fit the system, like once flew over the cuckoo's nest. It's absolutely unbelievably awful. And when dyslexics are perfectly fine people. The famous list of dyslexics, you can go on my site and find it, is enormous. It's ridiculous to try and change our minds. If you took away all dyslexics from the world, there'd be no theory of evolution, no theory of relativity. We wouldn't have invented electric lights, telephones. I mean, it's production line. It just goes on and on and on. There'd be no really rich people. There'd be no people moving the world forward. We can't afford to lose the dyslexics. They're the smartest set. They're the set of kids that move the world on. So please don't label us as ADHD and try and drug us. We don't need that. We're quite happy as we are, thank you. Dysgraphia, of course, just means problems with writing. Any child can have problems with writing. It's not a label that helps in any way, because in order to help the child with dysgraphia, you have to know why the child has dysgraphia. And it could be because of dyspraxia and motor problems. It could be because of dyslexia and not being able to spell well. It could be because the child's blind. It could be any reason. So you've got to find the underlying cause for why the child has dysgraphia before you can help them. And it's the same with dyscalculia. That just means problems with maths. And a lot of the kids I see have problems with maths because they're given maths on sheets with words on, and they actually just can't read the words, so they don't learn the maths.
Right.
So that's a very crude form of dyscalculia, but it's actually dyslexia.
Right, okay. Well, I really feel privileged to be here with Dawn this week with Dyslexia Centre Australia, and I have to thank her for this wonderful session, and I wish you and Dyslexia Centre Australia the best, and also its members too, and to end this...
Nearly 1,000 families now.
Yeah, that's right. And basically, before we end this session, Dawn, what is your personal message to all dyslexics out there, especially the young ones?
And my personal message to dyslexics out there is, you're smart. Be confident. Please, please, please believe in yourself. Know that you're smart, you're clever. Look for what you're good at and do it. Whatever you're good at, pursue it. Go on and do it for the rest of your life. Because if you're dyslexic and you pursue something as an entrepreneur, you're likely to be super successful. Just make sure, parents out there, make sure that your dyslexic kid ends up confident. Confidence is way, way more important than spelling.
And I hope to take this program back to Kuala Lumpur and touch many children's lives.
Bye, everyone.
Bye bye.